The Brothers of Liberty, here to remind you what true freedom is. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Liberty with the older brother Kelton. Today, we're going to be talking about a law that has passed in California and was signed by Newsom. The law takes effect in 2024, and this is adding any retail stores that has over 500 employees needs to add a gender neutral section. That's right, you heard me correctly. A gender neutral section for kids and babies. I'm not making this up. You can't make this stuff up. If they don't comply, there'll be and if they're in violation of it, they'll be charged fines. Um, and of course, this is La La Land, California. And of course, there's supporters and opponents to the bill. I'm one of the opponents because one, I'm no by mean transphobic or homophobic or sexist or racist. But when you start telling a company what they can and cannot market and forcing them to add things to their store, you become a communist. Only communism does that. This is a private business. And you're telling a private business they have no choice anymore. Their liberty is gone because you decide what they can and cannot sell, what they can and cannot do. No, this is America. Because if you're going to say that you are forcing a business to now do this, then we, as people who are not vaccinated, have the right to say a business cannot fire us because we're unvaccinated. You always want to say, oh, it's a private business. They can censor speech. Facebook can censor speech because it's a private business. No, 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 no. If we can't force Facebook, and this is a constitutional right of freedom of speech, and we can't force them to appreciate everybody's opinion, then guess what? You have no right of making a law about a private business, what they can and cannot do, what they can and cannot market, or forcing them to market something. That's just a fact. We live in the United States of America. I am all for liberty. I am all for people having their own choice. I am not for forcing a person or a retail store to do what they don't want to do. And you're talking about civil rights. You have no care about civil rights. It's all about control. It's always been about control. Why do you think it happened in California, the land of the Democrats? Because the more they control, the happier they feel about themselves. And when a person gets older, yes, they can be who they want. And I believe they should be able to do that without no persecution or discrimination. I have friends, I've worked with trans people, and I have never once was mean to them, said a nasty word to them, or anything like that. They got along with me, I got along with them. But when you start forcing it on companies and forcing it, saying, oh, you have to sell this because we're demanding it, or you have to have this section because we're demanding it, no, that's up to the company. There's plenty of gender neutral things, but they're always in the either boys department or girls department. You tell us that we need to read the science and believe the science. Well, guess what? Science says there's a man, there's a woman. Get over it. I don't see a bear going into an operating room saying that they want to be a woman or a human because it's nature. Now, that might come off as a little whatever, but we are all entitled to our opinions. And I'm just going by what nature shows me, not what people decide because they want to change science for themselves and to fit their narratives. And I've always said that even though I am unvaccinated, people tell me to trust the science. I am trusting the science. The science is still going on. Studies of the vaccines are due to come out. The results are due to come out in 2023. That's 2 years from now. What are the long term effects? What are effect on kids? What's effect on my heart with high blood pressure? When I have a family history of heart disease, when it has already caused hearts to get enlarged with some of the side effects. That's the science I follow. I follow the science where military personnel got vaccinated, went to other countries, but they didn't get the disease even though the other country population wasn't vaccinated because vaccines are supposed to protect you. That's true science, not the science that the government forces down our throats. Or they forget what Dr. Fauci said about masks, saying masks really don't help, and then you want to force a mask mandate. There's videos of him saying that. And then he go double back and you believe one video but not the other video. You either know science or you don't know science. You don't go back and forth because the government tells you to go back and forth, which is why I do not trust government scientists. And people's like, trust the government. These are the same people 10 years ago who didn't want to trust the government. Now, because their party in it, oh, trust the government. The government's the government. Doesn't matter which party's in it. They've all screwed everybody. Malcolm X even said, the difference between a liberal and a Republican is the liberal will be deceitful and be your friend and stab you in the back. And there's a lot of Republicans that will stab you in the back and make backdoor deals and sell people out, which is why I consider myself an independent, even though I'm a registered Republican. The Republicans are a little better because they do, and there's more people that's starting to see that more freedoms on the Republican side because they want to limit the government, like as I do. But don't start forcing things. I believe it should be a person's choice. I believe it should be a business choice. And for those who want to say, "Oh, it's a different," no, it's not a different story. It's the same story. You're just trying to brand your own narrative so you can force something, as always. And that's what it's always been about: control and force. Not true liberty, not the liberty we had back 200 years ago, where we were free to make choices before the government started really stepping in. And that's what we need to get back to: smaller government and more control to the people. Because it's we, the people, that are getting pissed off. And like I said, sooner or later, you keep hitting a pissed off animal, what's going to happen? Teeth are going to come out and you don't know what's going to hit you. And I'm not the only one that feels this way. A lot of people feel this way, but they get called sellouts and stuff because they're not the right demographic to be a Republican or a conservative. I don't see conservatives putting labels on people, only the so-called liberal left. They're the ones that are putting labels on everybody. We don't care if you're transphobic, gay. I'm sorry, not transphobic. We don't care if you're transgender, gay, straight, bi. Everybody's welcome here. But then the people that are Republican that are transgender or gay or straight, they're told they're sellouts. Who's really the sellout? The person that's want to see more freedoms for you, or the person that keeps drinking the Kool-Aid because they're given free stuff and the Democrats claim to like you and claim to be your friend? That's just food for thought. And what are your opinions about it? Like, share, subscribe. Um, One of these days, we're going to do a live where we can actually have chats in there so they can, give me their opinions and I can talk about their opinions and we can have a discussion. But until then, this is the Brothers of Liberty, always reminding you what true freedom is and should be.